Okay, so good evening, everyone. So we are here today to have a discussion on session 5 topics of API testing, a manual testing learning program, an initiative by OPRIMES Academy. So today we would be mainly kind of going through topics that are planned and aligned for session 5, where we would be understanding resources, HTTP status codes, and other things. So moving forward, Naveen. Can you move the slides, please? Okay, so last session, basically, we had a discussion about components of APIs like base URI. We understood and we discussed a lot of different parameters with live examples and their types. All the related informations, documents, the reference materials, everything is available under OPRIME's resource section. Like I keep mentioning, please visit those, do some self-learning and understand and if there is any questions, please feel free to post it to us. So today, Naveen here would be helping us understand the concepts that are aligned for today's discussion. So handing over to you, Naveen.
Thank you, Shalim. Hello, guys. So let's start with the today's session. So in today's session, we will be learning what do you mean by resource, how resources will be looking like, and what do you mean by HTTP status code, like what are the classifications inside it, in what are the series it will be appearing. So finally, we'll be moving on to the HTTP methods, what are the methods we are having, and we'll be working on some of the demo APIs. So there are some public APIs which are available on the Google. So finally, at the end, we will be working on that demo APIs. Okay, so resource means in the rest, whatever we see, everything, it is a term of resource itself. Resource can be text files, HTML pages, images, videos, or some sort of data. Anything can be of resource itself. So REST uses various representation to represent the resource in format of JSON or XML. The most preferred format is XML or JSON what we are using. So you can see one of the example over here. User is one of the resource, and it can be written in both the format like this. XML format, we can write the one user as the resource like this format, and in a JSON format we can write it as this format. Both are resource. Both are resource itself, but the way what we are trying to portray it, we can do it in a different way. In the XML format, it can be written in this way. So in JSON format, it can also be written in this way. See here, you can able to get some more picture over here. See resource users and rewards are two resources. With the help of two resources, we are creating multiple endpoints over here. See here, user is a resource. Here we are creating multiple endpoints. Get all users, get specific users. These are all the methods. With respect to endpoints, we are creating multiple users, multiple endpoints. I'm sorry. Again, rewards is also one of the resource. With the help of resource, we are creating multiple endpoints. API site.com, API key rewards. We are creating multiple endpoints. With the with this, we'll be able to know with a single resource, we'll be able to create multiple endpoints. So that is the main concept over here. Status code. I guess you have some idea about status codes, why it will be coming and what is the interaction between the status code and server. If you have any idea, you can let me know. Anyone?
By status code, we mean that whether the API have given the correct data or the correct input or not. If it is okay, we have different code, and if it is wrong, then we have a different code.
Yes, bravo. Anyone else?
Status code is means pass or fail.
I'm sorry.
Status code is means identify which call its API is a pass or fail.
Exactly, whether the API is working as expected as not, we'll be verifying with the help of status code. So that is the main reason, why we are using status code. Status code means a status code are issued by a servers in response to the client request made to the server. Here, the first digit of the status code defines the class of response, like under what particular class the status codes are appearing, while the last two digits do not have any classification or categorization role. Means like we have different set of things over there with respect to last two digits. This is the class, like 100 series class we have, 200 series class we have, 300 series class we have, and the 400 and 500. These are the 5 classes defined. These are the standard classes. With respect to 100 classes, see, 100 means these are information codes, like indicating that the request initiated by the browser is continuing. Most oftenly, like we will not be seeing this 100 series code in real time. With respect to real time, we will be seeing only these 4 things, so 200 series, 300 series, 400 series, and 500 series. For 100 series, will not be seeing partially, I guess, I have not seen. So all these 4 things will be seeing in the real time part. So with respect to 200 series part, I guess most of the people know. I guess anyone can say what is 200 means, what all comes under 200. Anything is fine. Whatever you say, it's fine.
By 200, we mean the response from the API is working fine.
Exactly. Okay, 200 category means any code in the 200 category section means that the request you made was a good request itself. It was successful, it completed correctly, it did what it was expected to, what it was supposed to do. So 200 means successful. 201 means you guys know, with the help of a post method, we'll be able to create some of the resource. Whenever we create some of the resource, we will get some response, successful response, right? So that successful response we'll be getting in the form of 201 status code. 204. See, 204 is this is one of the concept, a very important concept. See, 204 means means something went well. Means 204 means it is not returning anything, nothing, no content over here. Means something went well, everything working as expected, and it is not nothing. It is not having nothing to return. For example, a lot of time, if we have a delete request API, we want to delete an user. So we don't have to return anything from API. Obviously, we are deleting that API and we are not getting anything response from that API. So we will set an ID to delete. We will take that ID, particular ID, and we'll go with the delete API and we will delete it. So in that case, we will get 204 status code. That means the action has been performed, but we are not getting anything from that. So that's it. So in that case, we will get 204 status code. So when it comes to 300 status code means 300 means these will handle the redirection of the URL. For example, if you go to any website, if there is a bug and if that bug is redirecting to some other bug page URL, we will get in those cases we'll be able to find 300 status code. I mean 300 series. So in the 300 series, we have one important thing is 304. So 304 means this is not exactly redirecting the URL. This is means this will not do the redirecting part from one URL to another URL. So this is actually catching information for example, if the server information has changed, it will show a 304. Means the particular API has not been modified since the day it has been updated. So before, if you have updated any of the API, so with the help of, again, if you try to get the response from that particular API, if it is not modified, then it will show a 304 status code. It is not modified. So that case, we will be seeing a 304 status code. Then again, 400, I guess, again, 400, you guys can say. You guys might have seen 200 and 400, you will be seeing all the status code frequently. Anyone with respect to 400 series, what it will consist of?
It may occur if you had requested for the bad responses, we can say.
Partially, bad itself, you said bad, correct? But bad from what side?
But URL you are requested for.
Bad from the client side or from the server side?
From the server side.
Not exactly. Anyone else? No worries. We are here to learn itself. Even I am here to learn. So anyone else?
It's a bad request from the client side, maybe.
Yes, exactly. It is a bad request from the client side. So when it comes to 400 series, it has to be from the client side itself. See, 400 level error, it is an error from the client side. For example, 400 means something went wrong. Some of your information were bad. By sending that, we will be getting a 400 status code. For example, if you want to create a new user, which includes like a name, mobile number, email ID. But if you are sending only name and mobile number, and if you are not sending email ID, means like we are missing part of the body over here. So in that case, like we will get 400 status code, like 400 error, saying that you are not providing all the information what it's supposed to be. So in that case, like we will get 400 status code. We have one more term called one more error code called 401. 401 means like it deals with respect to authorization part. Means like you are trying to access some of the information that requires some part of the authentication, either by logging or API key that needs to be passed. Those things has to be passed by either by logging or or by API key. To be simple, means if you are accessing some APIs, we need to pass some of the API key, right? So in that, if you're not passing some of the API keys or some authentication part, so in that case, like we will be getting 401 status code. So then we have 403, like forbidden. Forbidden means like the name itself states like it's a restriction part. Like it will happen like when the client sent an API key, it means like in case of 401, we are not sending any API key. In this case, in case of 403, we will be providing API key. We will be providing some sort of access to the API. But what happens is like when we provide the access, what we are providing, it is not for that particular part. Means like it will happen like when the client sent an API key, but they're not. What should I say? Like okay, for example, if I am a basic user, if I am trying to access admin feature in the API, then server would give 403 error. Means like server will say, I know you, but I can't provide you the access. It's a restricted part. You can 401 means like I don't know who you are. 403 means like I know you, but I can't provide you the access. It's a restricted part. You got it right? Hello?
Repeat, like.
Yeah. So can we say that 400 is like incomplete request?
Yes.
We are sending?
Thank
Okay.
400 means like incomplete request, like we are missing some of the partial body in that. 401 means like we are missing with the authentication part, like we are not providing authorization part, like whatever the username and password, like that with respect to that, we need to provide some access over there. We are not providing. 403 means like to be keep it simple, you will be providing some sort of key over there, but we are not providing the exact key. That particular key, what we need to access that particular part, we are not providing that. You are forbidden to access those part. So in that case, like we will be getting 403. And again, 404 means obviously like it means we are accessing some part of the web application, but that particular part does not exist. In that case, like we will be getting 404. Got it? And again, like 409, I'm not sure. I guess like I need some time. I'm not sure with 409. I haven't faced this. So again, like with respect to 500 series, like so 500 when server is broken, like whenever the server is broken or when the database is down, so we will be getting with 500 series 500 series status code. Means like it's not our fault. Like whenever the server is broken, like or when the database is down, so we will get like 500 series error. Like so, then the developer should have to work on this. So well, this is about some status code responses. So mainly we need to concentrate about like 200 and 400 and 500 series. So these are the real-time things like which we'll be seeing. So 200 series and 300 and 500. Again, like HTTP methods, I guess like you know a lot about this itself apart from me. Again, anyone is get request post method, what it will do? We'll just recap the things. Like I guess you know all these things. We'll just recap the things and we'll move on some with some of the dummy APIs in the Google.
Yeah. So in get request we pass the parameter in the URI itself, whereas in post we have the entire like you can say the payload with that, and also in get we are trying to like view the contents of a particular resource, whereas in post we are like updating something. or rather inserting something to that record.
Good. With respect to put and delete, like just add up with some of the points with put and delete.
Yeah, in delete we are like deleting a particular resource, whereas in put we are updating something, if there is something that is already existing, so we are updating it to a new record.
Perfect.
And also like put is idempotent, like we can send like multiple puts as request, and all the time the response will be the same, which is not the case in post or in delete.
Yes. Okay. Like as one of my friends said, like so we will be doing with the HTTP methods the following things. So with respect to get, like get request, like as he said, like it is used to retrieve some of the information. Here we are not modifying any of the data. So what data, what status code we will be getting is like for any get API, like if the resource is found on the server, then it will be returning 200 status code. In case like if it is not found, like we will be getting 401 status code. And again, like if you are missing some of the body, like if the URL itself is not providing a proper format, then it can, in that case, like we'll be getting a bad request format. With respect to post, like okay, with respect to post, like we'll be creating new resource over there. So here will be providing body over here. So again, like we'll be in this case, we'll be getting 201 status code. And also like some case, like in some rare case, like we'll be getting 204 also, 201 and 200 and 201 and 204 also. Again, like put is obviously we will be updating some of the information over there, like we'll be modifying some of the data part over there. There is a slight difference between put and patch. Like put is like again, put is to update some of the things. Patch is used to update only the partial part. Whenever we want to update like only the little bit of some changes, like we can go with the patch also. Almost both are similar. Put and patch are both are similar, which will be returning both status code 200 and 204. But there will be a slight change. That's it. Like with respect to post, since post has created order, since post has already created the data, with the help of put and patch, we will be modifying the data. Again, delete with the help of delete, like we will be deleting the APIs. So once the APIs get deleted, like it will give us 200 status code. And if it is not found, means like we will be getting like 204 status code. So I guess like we came to know about like resource HTTP methods and status code. Let's go with the real-time part, like with the dummy APIs. We have some dummy APIs, like these are public APIs, like which are already available in the Google. I guess with the help of these things, like you will be able to get some clear picture about this HTTP methods. Okay, first let's go with the creating part. Okay. See, the moment when I click on this post part, hello? Am I audible? Hello?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
See, the moment when I click on this post API, like with respect to this post API, there is an API. See, this is the API. We'll take this API and we'll try to hit it with respect to Postman. What do we have? Like we have post method. Here we are providing the URL and will be providing the body. When it comes to body, first we need to select the raw format, which format we are providing, and which format it is already presented. Like JSON format, it is already presented here. Those things. See, that is the same thing. This payload, it is already displayed over here. I'm just copy pasting. Both are same itself. Like, see, the job and key, both are same itself. Like, I'm just taking out this part. Okay. Now we are providing the data. Like, we are providing the data in the server to get updated. These are dummy APIs. Like, this does not require any kind of authentication. Say, now this data has been created with the ID of 1227. Now what we do? Let's try to retrieve this data. What is the ID we got here? It is 177, right? By providing this ID, we'll be able to retrieve this data. I guess like this APIs are having some bugs. I guess like actually it was supposed to get all this information what we have updated, right? It was supposed to give all this information, but I'm not sure like why it is giving 404. Maybe there is a bug or something in there. Maybe these are dummy API, so maybe they are not updated it. So let's go with the post part, like a put part.
Can we put their IT ID equals to 177?
Where exactly?
Yeah, before 177, ID equals to 177.
Body part.
Is it possible?
177, like I didn't get your point. I'm sorry.
Yeah, after user slash ID equals to 177. Instead of writing 177, ID equals to 177.
Yeah, we can provide it in case of like, that's what like you are saying with respect to query parameters and path parameters. We can do that. Like we can provide in case of ID is equal to 177. But this API is not working. So that is the reason.
Yeah. Okay.
With respect to put, like we have same thing. One more thing, like for the put, like since we are updating put over here, so where exactly we need to update? Like so this has to be updated in some sort of ID, right? So this ID we have created. So if we are want to modifying some of the data in this particular section, we need to update the ID. First, we need to provide the ID over here. So since I have already created this 177, I am taking the same thing. So I'm changing this method over here. And I'm providing the body, updated body. Not this one. Let's say I'll change format to Naveen. I'll change it to test. See, it has been modified. Now it has been modified. This entire object, like whatever we are doing here, this entire object is going to get modified. This object is there now. This object is getting modified by this object. So the updated time, everything will be able to see. With respect to patch, like I said, like patch is able to, with the patch is used to update only the partial part. Like just in case I need to update some of the things, only assume like I need to update only my name. I'm taking the same user ID. In case of entire body, I am providing only the partial body. Not partial body, like which body I need to, which data I need to modify. So in case of here, I'll change it to ABC. And I want this data to be updated. See, again, name has been changed. So only the partial part, we are modifying only the partial part. Here we have modified only the name part. again with the at last, like with respect to delete part, I don't know this. Hello?
Naveen, I have a question on this patch part.
Yeah.
So you have entered the name as ABC. What if we the full, raw body part? Let's suppose the other one was there as test something. Job as test. If you provide the job as test also in the patch, will it give us an error or it will also get update?
It will also get updated. Let's try. Like, I'll change these things also.
No, put it as a test. So I just want to confirm, will it give us a, with test, it's, give us an error or it's allowing us to?
No, it won't give. Like, even we can do the same with respect to put and punch, we can do the same things. But patch is basically used only for the partial updates. So that is the reason I told you the difference. That's it. Right?
Okay, thank you.
No worries. At last, like with respect to delete part, I won't need this particular data. I am deleting this data. Hit it, test it, data bye-bye. That's it. This particular data is not found. Again, this particular data has been deleted in the server. So this is the parts. We have like multiple methods over here, but oftenly we will be using only these 5 methods, like get, post, put, patch, delete. Only these 5 methods oftenly we'll be using. So that's it. Like.
So in real time, in real projects, we just used to verify that the status itself. If you want to verify, right?
Means like whether whatever the server is providing, will be able to identify with the help of status code.
Okay.
Any doubts so far? Like.
I have one question here.
Yeah, please.
So my question is like, for example, we can take a real life example that we have integrated one of the API at a front end, and in network calls when we are checking that one of the API is getting failed, which is calling the another API.
Okay.
So how we can identify that issue is at front end or at the first API or at the second API?
That you'll be able to find at the response itself, right? So if the API is not working, like you will be able to get in the response, it will be throwing some of the exception. With the help of exception, you'll be able to understand like whether it is moving on to the next API or it is not moving. In the response itself, like we'll be able to identify.
In network calls itself, right?
See, in the response, it will throw some response over here, like it will throw some exception.
Okay, so that exception can be understandable that the exception is at the first API end or at the second API end, right?
Yes, of course. Like if the API is not, it's the failing, that we will be getting the status code will also be changed, and we will be getting some of the exceptions, right?
Okay, all right. Okay. If you have any kind of example like this, so you can share it later on even.
Okay, I'll look into it and I'll share you guys.
All right.
Okay, bye-bye.
Naveen, I have a question. So let's suppose there are some fields on the UI part which are mandatory and some are non-mandatory. So how would we come to know from the API part that this is a mandatory value that we need to pass and this is not a mandatory field? So let's suppose I am adding, we have a form like the API which can accept input in the like name and the phone number and the email ID. My email ID is not a mandatory right now over here. From UI, I know this, but from the API part, if I do not provide as a number, so it will give us a error after providing the name and the email ID only.
Of course, like there is a, I guess like as I told you earlier, like if that API like requires some part of the body, exact part of the body to be updated. Like if you are missing with any one of the word, one of the key and value, like it will give error. Like so, like with the 400 status code.
Okay, so 400 status code will be there, but it will not tell us which part needs to be entered.
No. Which it will not tell us like which part it will be done. Like.
Thank you.
Anything else? I guess over to you, Shalini. If you have any doubts, like you can put it in the chat box.
Okay, so I think there is one question from Akshay. I am not sure if it's answered, Naveen. Can you explain how we report API related bug? Okay, Akshay, there is a separate session planned for this as per the course outline, where you can see the entire reporting. How do we create API related reports, bugs, everything would be taken care of. So I think.
Okay, not an issue. Thanks.
Yeah, okay, cool. So Avinal had a question. Was that addressed? Okay. I'll read it on behalf of Avinal. If we get response code, say 401, will the issue fixed by the UI team or the backend? So who will own 401 error?
401 means like it has to deal with the backend team itself. Like, so we need to provide some authentication part, right? So we need to inform to the backend team.
Okay, cool. How will we come to know which request parameters in request payload are mandatory and non-mandatory?
Where exactly this question is like? How will we come to know which request parameters in request payload are mandatory or not mandatory? You will get this. See, when these APIs will be given by the developer. Like when the developers give you the APIs, like they will give you all sort of format. Like for this particular API, like this is the payload what you need to be passed. Got it?
Okay. Avinal, in case you still have any questions, please feel free to drop us a mail. We would be more than happy to explain that in detail. Okay, cool. So I think what was intended for today's session for discussion, those are done with some real-time sample examples and some discussions and walkthrough. So can you go back to slide, Navi? Okay, can you go to next slide? Okay, the slide. So the session 5 is done for today. Like most of you are in alignment and agreement that next session should be probably happening in Jan first week, that is Jan 5th, because next week is mostly a kind of vacation or holiday mode for most of us. So the session 6 would be held on 5th of Jan, that's Wednesday, same time. And the topics that we would be discussing there, till now, all 5 sessions, whatever discussion happened, that was primarily focusing on understanding API fundamentals, its concepts, terminologies, components, etc. So the next session would be primarily focusing on what is front-end testing, what is back-end testing, how do we differentiate between both, what parameters should we consider when we are focusing on these types of testing, what is API testing, and what kind of checks one should do when he or she is testing API, and API testing tools introduction and understanding. So next session would be even more interesting and very, very important for everybody who is part of this call. So please make sure you are making it to session 6, which would be on Jan 5th. As always, I repeat, so all the resources for the sessions that we are doing are available under your Oprine's profile. Please do check that. Yeah, I think we are done. So the next session would be on Jan 5th. So all your questions, queries, feel free to write it to us. Our team would be more than happy to address those. If there is no question from anybody, we are good to close this. Okay, you guys can just give a thumbs up if there is no questions from your side, so that I'll kind of end this call. Okay, I just got it from Akshay, so I'm not sure if, okay, I got it from Gajanan as well. Yeah, I see the numbers increasing. I mean, there is reaction and you can just give a thumbs up, guys. Okay, cool. Fine then, I'll wind this call up and we'll meet on Jan 5th. I just wanted to wish all of you all Merry Christmas and advance Happy New Year. We Oprine's Academy team wishes you all a very very joyful and very happening new year next year, where I'm sure you guys would have a lot of fun, lot of learning, lot of growth in your personal and professional life. Again, once again, advance happy new year and Merry Christmas to all of you all. Enjoy your holidays. We'll catch you up at our next session on Jan 5th. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you everyone. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas in advance.